First objection also inside of the court case with the Edison court case that was decided inside of an unfair, facilitated lawyer perspective undermining, hiding of this objection that I submit sold to the courts in ownership and control in my position in Rochester, New York, 14608, 14616, in a lifetime inside of knowing all information. Born 8-3, Shelaine Davis, 1969, in the town and city of Lake Alfred, Florida, inside of ownership of that position as well, being my home state, if I shall need in a jurisdiction to come after the affiliates where I live, and so have proven inside of this case, which is the Edison home care case, inside of creation, in objection to the time frame of the hiding of the case. I speak to all the members of council who have taken ownership and created a sideways, biased, racist, disrespect, undermining way to the courts to sway inside of collection of ownership of my income, of my creation and patents. That has been sat down and talked about inside of continued held funds in regards to being established at address noted at 84 Westwood Drive, Rochester, New York, 14616, in the town of Greece, when I bought ownership of the house with the mortgage company being in perspective and silence, or if you shall know that they have been implemented inside of the creation and now in my position of growth. And I object to the sound of the backward talks to make sure that you pretend not so with the judge in the court system, to be honest and honorable to my objection, and know that I am in position to know that I have submitted in writing an algorithm in time, and now I am submitting in my First Amendment invoice and sound to be protected by now the federal government, where I have implemented many patents that must be patented and named under the establishment of the LLC business that I so-called whole proprietorship inside of your creation of this lawsuit, calling it the Gomez Foundation of the lies of algorithm inside of media and fake ideas of research wrongdoings. Now you are in right doings and practices that in the LLC creation of the home care business, newfound business, so you sound. Let me officially say that it was algorithed October the 2nd, 2023, in sound of tyranny attacks, inside of cyber attacks, in the breach of my son records, inside of the torture that I have so submitted to this court. Now that I have objected in sound in Monroe County, the way that I have been defending my ERISA chapter wages that has been stolen or hidden inside of fraudulent accounts, that I have proven to you inside of this whole ideal of unfairness, where you have a Judge Garson and many more who are higher and I don't see, which is still at a disadvantage. 700 miles and counting in radius. I am time inside of this lawsuit, counted inside of exhibits where I have exposed this courts of being inside of the wrong leadership, inside of conference, inside such an important case where every affiliate inside of the Attorney General dated when I notified Letitia James' office of the practice and malpractice treatments that I did so report consuming my consumer and protection of my civil HIPAA rights, when my HIPAA rights and my son's HIPAA rights was being violated inside of you being called out inside of fraud accounts that I have approved and sent inside of 5 years of abrogation of the net spend visa, which objection I say on all of royalties inside of mistreatment and maltreatment of my employer, who is in jurisdiction disadvantage to me to be able to have a board to represent my rights as far as eraser rights that you have governed inside of New York City, away from my most input inside of this creation. Starting work in 517, working with Edison and starting new business with my son, taking care of him in creation, starting inside of when he was hospitalized at Strong Memorial Hospital, when he came from Florida, and we moved back at 1100 Bennington Drive. If you can do research in that, you can also see algorithm in the creation of what I claim of your facilitated background email connection with your affiliate members, naming yourself in position and trying to hide evidence of wrong practices. That I do have evidence where you threw out a case inside of a disposition that has not been opened nor founded, and it cannot be founded, and it may not be founded under the breach of my name and how I am now losing perspective of the way I was prior to the breach of my employer in whole in the United States, where I had to invoke my civil rights, and if so, all will do. And the Center for Disability we represent at this point, we're all due in Monroe County, located now at J Street on the corner of State Street in the town of Rochester or city zoning. Well, Altoine Davis and Shelaine Davis are protected under the civil rights and calling new business and new funding to call our new businesses, as I have spoken inside of disclosure of closing the arguments of the wrong practices of underwriting laws at the time when I purchased my home, where I show algorithm as an employee, never ever stopping inside of a default of not working and reporting IRS earnings through elite choice, being what they name themselves inside of dictionary, off of my research at State Street, working under understanding and already knowing algorithm of being one of a real agent pro, working at Kodak on the corner of State Street, when I started my new idea of patent stolen at that time inside of deceit and disrespect. I sell Colton being the business affiliate named inside of privacy disclosure. Now that we can redirect distribution payments out to the New Creation Foundation, as I have called, in the name of the cold town of Rochester, where the police department has no police labor board in place, where the workers' comp board in Monroe County has not been open for the last 3 years to help govern our cities and to help deter gun violence and to increase our police force in tyranny, not tyranny attacks, but to be transparent through understanding of our United States constitutional enforcement rights, of our HIPAA rights to understand and be respected as a civilization-free American, to invoke your 504 as I have inside of this lawsuit, where its whole solely reports to please come out of conference and privacy of tyranny attacks inside of Fed knowledge, noticing and understand and ready to watch over state officials for wrong practices and law courts of proceeding of sending text messages and making decisions without the consumer nor the person at charge that has objected to such a $1 million claim, to make her voice heard inside of reparation, if we have to do that, in funding of the Shelaine Davis Tracks Foundation of Freedom of Abolitionists. I have been called under that seal of approval in this address founded as of October the 2nd, the right to vote, and put our business practice out of the hands of affiliates inside of like People Looks of iCircle Care and Elite Choice, being away from our labor boards and fair practices of racial laws in all counties of New York. I reject Kathy Hochul Foundation for Life Support life support sustaining tyranny attacks under your sent out of enforcements to do as a policy of media control and putting inside of what you have governed in your backgrounds of your meetings and emails of high officials in objection to our fair rights and fair practice. Shelaine Davis, Altoine Davis Foundation, it shall now be funded under, I have said, inside of my ESL account, governing payments of change and increase to federal businesses and being able to open up new lines of communication and better doctoring inside of making it not such a credit perspective banking situation where we can open up our new businesses inside of bringing practices on the Republican perspective and removing the ghost that holds us down inside of slavery. I free all people under my new 504 and 508 new laws under the new foundation of the Center for Disability Rights, giving me strength to promote and understand how trust is done and news, understanding our streets and our officials and firemen and all officials and citizens in Monroe County that has been disrespected as such of my creation of revenue of all patents. I believe there's maybe over 15. Please be disclosed immediately and stop and receive all fundings in proportions inside of increase of moving businesses out that is not being promoted in real estate and bringing new tracks, business LLCs to bring new ideas of medical science inside of agriculture and new ideas of digital transparency of banking ideas where we can verify through virtual home training inside of real ideas of human practices and understanding the new knowledges and growth of knowledge of our new ways of living. I have what you have in objection to the tyranny of your sweepstakes and ideas of breach. So let's get together in foundation, form a distribution idea, a newfound nonprofit LLC trust established inside of our ideas and make transparency meaning of business instead of tyranny, increasing our cities in changing our light systems of knowledge and police forces and having entertainment, safety, and our ideas under these governing through the ideas of the Shelaine Davis Established Foundation of Freedom of the Frederick Douglass Foundation, Harriet Tubman, Underground Railroad, pertaining to connection to help our people in distress, as you call them in the media, inside of the counties that we govern, Monroe County being in the media governing everyday local news of the violence and tyranny that we shall be able to control only if we can fund the right practices and govern our right businesses and new ideas of profit instead of ideas of slavery and ignorance of not understanding new technology of the digital world of our money enterprises and my awards and understanding how we must now live. Please understand in my objection, this goes to my creation of royalties and distributions of all my stocks or creation thereafter you found it under the Microsoft, who is a part of this, I would call under this big deal of a $7 million distribution to a foundation. But I understand of governing increase of my monetary damages of the pains of suffering of torture. That has been proven.